I know we didn't anticipate this sort of meteoric life the first one took, and we didn't think it was in the cards. I mean, you don't know what people will make of a film that's effectively silent, and it's like an art house film that found this sort of meteoric life, and it's thrilling, and it's a conceit that has so much room for expansion, and it seemed like quite a natural progression to see the next chapter. I think that broken promise is a really harrowing experience for the kids, but ultimately I think it's a very powerful message that we see generationally what happens within this family is that the kids forge ahead, is that the kids have to grow up, they have to take charge. And also with Evelyn's character, with my character Evelyn, she is now a single parent, newborn baby, house is destroyed, 2 other children to protect, and she's out there, she's exposed, and she's grief-stricken. And so it's a really intensely emotional state that she's in, and the world is very daunting suddenly. I just think for me, I found this one emotionally just a more intense experience because there isn't any respite from the agony of what they've gone through. There's not one moment where it's pleasant for them. It's just urgent, and it is like a runaway train, this film. And I think if the first film was almost like, how do you avoid getting cut? I feel like the essence of this film is, oh my God, how do we stop the bleeding? You know, it just doesn't stop. And so I feel probably one of the most intense experiences I've had doing some of those scenes. Well, that's the great challenge is once you step off the path, you know, what awaits you and how do you maintain those rules? The rules are the same, it's just that now the rules are highly challenged by the environment that they're in. The great unknown represents the rules being challenged in every way. Emmett has lost everything and has suffered because of it, and he has been hardened by this environment, and so there's an ambiguous quality to him when you meet him. She's very much following in Lee's footsteps, wanting to do as he would do. She's as, you know, as sort of determined and technically savvy and fearless as he was. And so I think she feels it is honoring him in some ways if she uses this newfound power to kill them. She can use it for good. She can use it to help people. She doesn't know what's out there, though. She doesn't know what's happened to the human race. All she knows is what she sees in her family. I think he needed to be more behind the camera for this one because the scope gets bigger. Visually, it's more ambitious. It's like he had huge ideas for how he wanted to shoot it and how he saw it. So just to have him behind the camera for the nuance of orchestrating that whole thing was huge. Like, I think we all wanted that and needed that. I think they'll really love seeing the new challenges and new environments that these well-loved characters find themselves in. I think they are faced with adversity that is sort of jaw-dropping at times, and I think visually there are set pieces and action in this that just blew my hair back. I just think it's incredible, and it's all under that tense conceit of if you make noise, you die. And so the room for possibility is just endless.
For people to think that it was cool was so unbelievably emotional and beautiful, and it's not only the success of the film, which is great. I think it's the fact that people connected to what we connected to. Certainly, and Emily and I, you know, did this movie as a metaphor for parenthood, and the fact that people picked up on all that stuff, the fact that people loved all the detail of the first one, and all the elements of survival and this idea of family was just really overwhelming. You know, the truth is, I had no intention of doing a sequel. I don't think anyone thought that there would be a sequel. This was never designed to be a franchise. And yet I think that the power of the world is the thing that makes it so possible to delve into it again. What I mean by that is I think most sequels have a hero or a villain, and you have to build the world around them. And we have the benefit of having the opposite be true. We have this world built and ready to play in, so you can drop whatever hero and villain you want into that world, and that's what's really exciting about it. The metaphor of the first one was parenthood. If you extend that metaphor, could I play with that metaphor longer? And I think there's an evolution, an innate evolution in the metaphor that really became powerful in my mind. What I mean by that is, if the first one was about the promise you make as parents to your kids, that as long as you're with me, I can keep you safe and everything's gonna be fine. That's a promise that every parent makes to their child, and sadly has to be inevitably broken at some point in that relationship. And so I thought, when that promise is broken, that's growing up. And so when you let your kids go out into the world on their own, that's what growing up's all about. And so that's what the metaphor of the second one became, the idea of these kids and this family dealing with loss, dealing with their safety net being taken from them. We definitely get to experience much more than we did in the first one. But my goal, again, in order to respect the audience, was I didn't want to just do a movie that was bigger and flashier. I wanted to do a movie that the story and the characters dictated everything. So when you leave the path, yes, we're going into the unknown. Yes, we're leaving the farm, but we're leaving the farm because the family has to leave the farm. So we're expanding the world, but the intimacy comes from the rules are still the same. One of my favorite things about the first movie was this dichotomy of surviving versus thriving, that my character was really content with just surviving, that there needed to be no flourish in life. It just was about putting your kids to bed and making sure that they're safe. And the mother's character, Evelyn, that wasn't enough, that you couldn't just survive in a world. You had to thrive. You had to let these kids live a full life. And I think that the real fun part for me writing was playing with that dichotomy again in the second one, that basically her idea of thriving may have put her husband in dire danger and sort of been one of the reasons that killed him. So I think that she's sort of investigating that theory and reinvestigating it, and she sort of becomes the protector and the survivalist, and certainly doesn't want to lose anyone else in her family. The beauty of Cillian's character, and what I was so excited when I wrote the character, was he hasn't made a decision on how he wants to live his life, that there is so much fear in his life, so much loss in his life. He doesn't feel the need to be a part of any community. And yet when meeting this family, it's a real conundrum for him, because this family is, of course, something that you want to be a part of, you want to help in any way you can. That is a very nuanced thing to have to play. This sort of inner struggle is very difficult to play as an actor. You usually choose one or the other. Cillian Murphy is without a doubt one of the best actors, if not the best actor I've worked with, other than my wife. And the kids. The kids are amazing too. But there was something about Cillian, I had never seen that level of professionalism. I had never seen that level of preparation. His talent is, he's so good at all times. She faces probably the most intense challenges because she's completely on her own. She, even though she has the answer and her hearing aid is a weapon, she still can't hear. So she's in a more constant danger even than the rest of her family. She's a little girl alone in the world, which is, was just such a really nice thing to show, that this sort of, what I always loved about Millie's character is that she always had this innate sense of being a warrior princess. And what you get to see in this movie is that warrior princess thing comes at a cost, because at the end of the day, you will still see her as a little girl, and she's alone, and she doesn't have anyone to help her. I don't see them as having thought or intelligence and thinking things through. I think it's more about overpopulation, and it's become that they are strongly outnumbering us, and so it's one of those things where, again, I think it keeps the simplicity of the rules really strong. I've been a fan of Djimon's forever. I mean, going back to Gladiator and Amistad and all these movies, but the movie that really blew me away of Djimon's that I never forgot, and the reason why I cast him, was In America. And I think that role, to me, there is something that about Djimon that is so innately emotional. You immediately watch any performance of his and you have a little bit of a choke in your throat. You're ready to cry with him because he's such an open, emotional person. Now that we know that the audience is accepting of this world and accepting of these rules and loving the way the rules play out in the world, we basically answer the question that the audience asked of themselves, which is, what would you do? Because I think that the family in the first movie has a leg up on the rest of the audience because they can speak sign language, they have all these systems created, and now none of those things are going to save them. So they become just like everyone else, which is every single step that they take is a potential tragedy. And I think that that's what's really exciting, is that in the first movie there was a system that would keep you safe. In this movie, nothing keeps you safe. So the second movie really is, the rules of the first movie without a safety net. Anything can be your demise. It's a corny line, but if you like the first one, I think you'll hopefully love the second one, because the first one is just a small slice of what's possible in this world, and then the second one, we're going to show you what's happening in the rest of the world. So it's everything you loved about the first one, but there's more to experience. Obviously, because they don't have the safety systems, every step that they take is much more treacherous. The result of making sound here is a lot worse because there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide to. So it's a lot more exhilarating.
The first time working with Cillian, and obviously he's a very, very intense, actor and a wonderful human being. But of course, this is the kind of the type of actors you want to, journey the story with, because the intensity in their face kind of tells the story of what where you're at and what you're dealing with, and the drama, the level of drama. It's pretty amazing. It's wonderful to work with an actor who's very much an actor and also who is a director, and the affinity, as as opposed to simply a director who've never been on the other side of the camera. And so his approach is an approach of caring and of actors, and so his demeanor in directing is very very organic.
Well, I saw it in the cinema with my two sons when it came out, and had read very little about it. I knew very little about the setup or, about the creatures or anything, and it absolutely knocked me out. And the thing that I loved about it was that it knocked me out emotionally, because it ticks all the boxes of a horror kind of thriller thing. But for me, the thing was family. It felt to me like actually a film about family. And I remember being in the cinema with my two boys, and they were sort of watching like this, and all the people in the cinema weren't able to eat their popcorn. It had that incredible effect. It wasn't a passive viewing experience, it was quite the opposite. That's the power of the premise, and I guess the power of the writing, and everything is conveyed perfectly without that much dialogue, with very little dialogue. And it actually, it tends to focus you on the jeopardy, the danger, because they are having to communicate by sign language or by, just by their eyes and all. It was such an original take on it. It was brilliant. After I saw the movie, I was so blown away by it that I got to write to John Krasinski, and because I didn't know him or Emily, I'd never worked with either of them before. I was like a fan of their work, but I'd never seen them or met them personally. So I wrote this email just to John to say how much I enjoyed the film and how brilliant it was, and congratulating him on it. And then I chickened out, and I never sent it. I was like, don't do that. You don't need to be doing that. He's a busy man. He doesn't need to hear from some actor. And then like a year or so later, he called me up and he was like, look, we're doing the second one. Would you be interested? And I said, man, I was gonna send you an email. So it was a lovely sort of serendipity, or like, I don't know, simpatico or something, that he was thinking of me for that part, you know. Well, I think because the first movie was so sort of intimate, and it's pretty much like one location for the most part, and it's a very, very clever way of setting up a world which was set up, but we only got to see glimpses of what had happened sort of outside of their tiny little existence. And I think in this movie he just goes slightly wider, and you can see it slightly from a wider perspective what has happened in the world. It's still a very, 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 very small part of what has happened, and I think that is a clever way to approach a story, because you can keep moving back each time and show a bit more, and it poses a lot of questions without answering them, which I think is very clever. I've always loved working with writer-directors, first of all, because you know exactly, you can go straight to the source of where the story has come from, you know, and that's the case with John. And then you add on to that the fact that he's an actor as well, so he completely understands how actors work. His notes are amazing and concise and to the point. His enthusiasm for the whole process of making a film, because he is involved in at so many different levels, is infectious, you know. So you're on set and you just feel, you have this, he's got this incredible childlike excitement and enthusiasm about the process of making films, and yeah, that's catching. People who liked the first movie, and millions of people did, is the fact of just going like, okay, now we're giving you a glimpse at a bit more of this world, you know, and you see what you know, see how it affected more people just outside of this sort of nuclear family, and we're just pulling back a little bit. And I think that's very, very exciting to glimpse, because again, you start putting yourself into their shoes. So I think that's what will be most exciting, and it still has all the sort of thrills and spills and scares that the first one had, you know.
the first time I really knew that it kind of was going to go crazy was when we were at South by Southwest, and we were sat in the cinema, and it was just, the whole movie was, like, the crowd was dead silent, just silent. And I was kind of going, oh, this is kind of, maybe they're not liking it, maybe it's not going well. And then at the end, when it finished, like, everyone just started applauding, and the whole room suddenly filled with this applause, and it was just so overwhelming and incredible. It hits Marcus in a way that, that he realizes what's happened and what's gone on, and it's almost because so much goes on. The barn burns down, and all of that crazy stuff happens, and then they're kind of on the run, trying to survive, trying to find a new home, and all of that is happening, and it kind of, they don't have time to sit down and dwell on the fact that their dad's gone. They have to survive. They have to get out there and push all emotions aside and survive. Cillian's just great. Such a phenomenal actor, but just a great person, and constantly cracking jokes, but also really focused and professional. I've already built these relationships with these actors and John, and so that really helps, because then you get on set and there's no small talk, and there's no kind of like, you get into it, and you just play around. Like, I feel safe to talk to John about how I feel safe to play around with the scenes, to play around with Emily, to play around with Millie. And even Cillian felt right at home when he came in, and we just started talking immediately. And just to be able to learn and play and risk and do all of these things is why I do this job, and so this movie is really, I've learned a lot from both of these experiences, just being on set with these phenomenal actors and actresses. Just to work with him again was a dream, because he's just such a, he knows exactly what he wants, and he's very articulate with how he says what he wants, but he's also very open to your ideas, and also he's very, he's a bit of a dad. He's a bit like, he's always looking out for me and Millie. He's always like, are you okay? You okay? Did you get hurt? With all our stunts that we're doing, he's very, very protective. I think, honestly, because you've already had the first one, people are going to go in already with the kind of excitement left off from the first one, and they're going to just come out with even more excitement for what's to come.
Check out futurepreviews.com for all latest movies and behind the scenes of movies, and please subscribe to their YouTube channel, Future Previews LLC. Leave comments, likes, and follow them on Instagram, Future Previews LLC.
Futurepreviews.com. Whoa! Go behind the scenes of movies. Subscribe to Future Flicks YouTube channel.